Hi, this is the first part of a tutorial on using CAMBAM to generate the tool paths for a Telecaster guitar body. But first, let's take a look at the grid. I have a grid set up at 18 by 22 inches. It's offset 9 on the x-axis and 2 on the y. Alright, let's import the drawing. We're going to be using Terry Downs' most excellent Tele body, Revision E. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Don't worry, we're going to get rid of most of it and just keep the important bits. But first, let's save the file. Can't recommend saving enough. And here we turned on Snap to Grid because the first thing we're going to do is rotate everything in the drawing. You can use Control A to select everything. You can also do it through the menu. Alright, we go Edit, Transform, and Rotate. You select the center point that you want to rotate about, and then you draw out to get where you want a rotation from, and then click that and drag. We're going to do it to 90 degrees. The next thing is we want to move the drawing up into the grid. So you're going to select a base point, and then you click on that and drag to where you want the drawing to be. So for my setup, for my CNC machine, I always like to work with the body along the center line and up 1 inch. Now, one thing with CAMBAM is sometimes it's hard to get objects exactly where you want them. Using Snap to Grid helps, but sometimes if your drawing isn't right, parts of your drawing may not be exactly on a grid line, you can add more grid lines, or you can turn off Snap to Grid and just move it manually. I've found that trying to use the Snap to Object sometimes doesn't really work great. Anyways, you can zoom in and out on the drawing by either using the menu and zoom to fit, or if you use the scroll button on the mouse, it will scroll in or zoom in or out. Okay, the first thing we want to do is clean up the drawing. Here we can see the routes we want to keep. And these are all the holes, the string through holes, the holes for the ferrules in the back, the neck pocket holes. So we're going to leave these here too. And I don't know why I'm clicking through all of them, but I just felt like it. So if you select a layer and right click and then delete, it'll ask you, and it'll delete the layer and anything in it. So I'm just going to do that for all the layers. You can also multi-select and delete them all at once, but I'm just going through them one at a time here. Now there's no reason to actually delete them. Just cleans up the drawing a little bit, but it wouldn't hurt if you left them in. Okay. Now, one thing when I bring in the drawing, that the outline doesn't show up unless you highlight it. And that's something to do with the outline layer, and I haven't figured out what it is yet. So what I do is I like to copy the items in the outline layer and move them to a new layer. So let's create a new layer. And we'll call it Visible Outlines. And really we just want the outline. And I think that was the center line, but it actually wasn't. And we'll take care of that later in the tutorial. So let's copy them. Paste in the Visible Outlines layer. And there we go. And now we can delete that outline layer. And now when we do View All, we can see everything. Okay, now that you've seen all the holes, let's move on. And make sure you save every once in a while. Okay, that ends the first part of the tutorial. Stay tuned for part 2.